My stepmother locked me out of my father's hospital room. Family only, she said. You're not his real son. I'd driven 8 hours to see him. Security escorted me out. What she didn't realize was that I was listed as his medical power of attorney. One call to the hospital administrator, and everything flipped. My stepmother's hand slammed against the hospital door. Family only, Diane said. Her red nails dug into the door frame like talons. You're not his real son. I'd driven 8 hours straight from Portland. No stops, no food, just gas station coffee and the crushing fear that Dad wouldn't make it through the night. Heart attack. Massive. That's all the nurse had told me on the phone that morning. You should come now, she'd said, her voice tight with the careful neutrality medical professionals use when they mean, come say goodbye. Diane, please. My voice cracked. My throat was raw from crying during hour 5 somewhere outside Boise. I need to see him. He doesn't want you here. She stepped fully into the doorway, blocking my view of the room beyond. We've moved on, built a new family, a real family. Behind her, through the gap between her shoulder and the door frame, I could see Dad's hospital bed, machines beeping in rhythmic patterns that sounded like countdown timers, tubes everywhere, oxygen, IV lines, monitors tracking every struggling heartbeat. His face was gray against the white pillow, sunken, years older than the last time I'd seen him 6 months ago at Easter. I'm his son, I said. The words came out smaller than I intended. You're Helen's son. Diane's lip curled when she said my mother's name, twisting it into something ugly. The reminder of his first wife, the mistake he made before he met me. The hospital corridor smelled like bleach and desperation, and the particular staleness of recycled air. A nurse pushed a medication cart past us, glanced over at the confrontation, made eye contact with me for half a second, then kept walking. Nobody wanted to get involved. He raised me, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. 23 years, that makes me his son, that makes me family. Biology makes you his son. Diane pulled out her phone, latest iPhone, rose gold case, her carefully curated life on display in the lock screen photo of her and Dad on some beach in Mexico. Love makes you nothing, she started typing. Fast, angry thumb movements. Security? Yes. ICU wing. 3rd floor, room 347. Someone's harassing me. I need help immediately. This wasn't supposed to happen. Dad and I talked every Sunday evening. Had for 2 years since I'd moved to Portland for work. Software development for environmental monitoring systems. Good job. Great pay. The kind of opportunity you don't turn down. Diane had called it abandonment. You're choosing your career over family, she'd said during that last dinner before I left. Running away from the people who love you. That wasn't fair. I'd invited them to Portland a dozen times, sent plane tickets twice. Diane always had excuses. Headaches, Dad was tired, they had other commitments. It wasn't a good time. Always something. But she made sure everyone knew I was the one who'd left. Dad's brother Tom started making comments at family gatherings. Nice of you to show up, Marcus. Thought you'd forgotten about us. Dad's friends from the Rotary Club would ask him, how's your son in Portland? Does he ever visit? Diane had constructed a narrative. The ungrateful son who abandoned his father, the selfish kid who chose money over family, the one who didn't care enough to come home, and now she was using that narrative to keep me out of his hospital room. 2 security guards appeared at the end of the hallway, large men in Navy uniforms with radios clipped to their belts, ex-military from the way they moved, purposeful, efficient, alert. That's him, Diane pointed at me, her finger jabbing the air. He's been threatening me, screaming at me, following me. I'm afraid for my safety. Ma'am, we need you to calm down, the taller guard said to her, which I appreciated for about half a second before he turned to me. Sir, we need you to leave the area. I just want to see my father, I said. My hands were shaking. I shoved them in my pockets. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. 5 minutes. Sir, is this man related to the patient? The guard asked Diane. Stepson, Diane said quickly, smoothly, like she'd rehearsed it. Not blood, not welcome. His father specifically said he doesn't want to see him. It's too stressful. The doctor said no stress. Lies. All lies. But how could I prove it? The shorter guard, stocky, shaved head, compassionate eyes that said he hated this part of the job, took my arm gently but firmly. Sir, please come with us. I drove 8 hours, I said, and hated how desperate I sounded. Please. He's my dad. Sir, we don't make these decisions. Family does. Please come with us. They walked me toward the elevator, their grip professional but unyielding. Past nurses who looked away quickly, past patients in wheelchairs who pretended not to see, past a family crying in the waiting room, their grief public and raw and somehow more legitimate than mine. Diane stood in the ICU doorway, arms crossed, chin up, victorious. She smiled. The elevator doors closed. My reflection stared back from the brushed steel, red eyes, wrinkled shirt, 8 hours of highway dust on my jeans, defeat written across every line of my face. They escorted me through the lobby, past the gift shop selling get-well balloons and teddy bears holding hearts that said, feel better soon, past the cafeteria where the smell of burnt coffee made my stomach heave, through the automatic doors that whooshed open like they were expelling me from sacred ground. Don't come back, the tall guard said, not unkindly. Hospital policy, if family says no visitors, it's no visitors. We can't have disturbances in the ICU. Those patients are critical. unethical. I understand, I said, because what else could I say? I stood there in the parking lot as they walked away. The sun was setting, orange and pink and purple across the hospital windows, beautiful in a way that felt obscene. My car was somewhere in the massive visitor lot. I couldn't remember where I'd parked. I'd been running on autopilot, terror, and caffeine. My phone buzzed. Text message from my Aunt Linda, Dad's sister-in-law. Linda, Diane says you showed up and caused a scene. Is that true? I stared at the message, tried to figure out how to respond, gave up and shoved the phone back in my pocket. Then I remembered something. 6 months ago, April, Dad's lawyer had called. Dennis Kowalski, the estate attorney Dad had used for 20 years. Updates to his will, he'd said. Emergency contact forms. Medical power of attorney paperwork. Your father wants to make sure everything's in order, Dennis had explained. He's getting older, wants his affairs organized. Smart man. We'd had a phone call about it. Dad and me. One of our Sunday evening calls. I'm putting you down as my medical power of attorney, Dad had said. His voice had been strong then, certain, nothing like the gray ghost I'd glimpsed through that hospital room door. You're the only one I trust to make the right call if something happens. Diane's too emotional. She'll panic. You're practical, level-headed. Like your mother was, I'd protested. Said Diane was his wife. She should be the one. Diane loves me, Dad had said carefully. But she doesn't always make decisions based on what's best. She makes them based on what feels right to her in the moment. I need someone who'll listen to the doctors. Follow my wishes. That's you, Marcus. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands, found my email, scrolled back through 6 months of messages. There. Subject, David Chen, Medical POA and Advanced Directives. I opened it, downloaded the PDF attachment, notarized documents signed by Dad, witnessed by Dennis Kowalski and a paralegal named Jennifer Martinez. Medical power of attorney, Marcus James Chen. Authorized to make all healthcare decisions in the event David Lawrence Chen is unable to make such decisions himself. My heart hammered against my ribs. I dialed the hospital's main number with trembling fingers. Mercy General Hospital, how may I direct your call? Administration, please. My voice came out steadier than I felt. 3 rings, 4, 5. Administration, this is Patricia Odom. Ms. Odom, my name is Marcus Chen. My father is David Chen, a patient in your ICU. I'm being denied access by his wife, but I hold his medical power of attorney. Silence. Then rapid typing. Can you send me verification of that, Mr. Chen? I forwarded the email. Hit send. Waited. Counted my heartbeats. Watched the sun sink lower. Mr. Chen, I'm looking at your father's file now. More typing. A long pause. You're correct. You're listed as David Chen's medical power of attorney. This was filed with our records in April. His wife just had me physically escorted out of the building by security. The typing stopped. She did what? She told security I was harassing her. They removed me from the ICU and told me not to return. That was... Patricia Odom's voice went cold. Professional. The tone of someone who'd just realized liability was about to land on her hospital. That was unauthorized. The medical power of attorney supersedes spousal authority in healthcare decisions. Where are you now, Mr. Chen? Parking lot. Section C, I think. Come back to the main entrance immediately. I'll meet you there personally. 5 minutes later, Patricia Odom stood at the main entrance doors. Mid-50s. Gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. No-nonsense glasses. Navy blazer with a hospital ID badge clipped to the lapel. She had the look of a woman who'd spent 30 years navigating hospital politics and didn't have patience for drama. Mr. Chen, that's me. She looked me over, taking in the wrinkled clothes, the exhaustion, the red eyes. Her expression softened fractionally. Follow me, please. We took the elevator to the 3rd floor. She stood with perfect posture, hands folded in front of her, radiating authority. 2 nurses got on at the 2nd floor, saw the administrator, and immediately straightened their uniforms. Patricia, one murmured nervously. Jennifer, how's the Morrison family doing in 412? Much better. They're being discharged tomorrow. Good. The elevator doors opened. ICU. The beeping was louder here, more urgent, the smell of antiseptic stronger. Patricia walked down the corridor with swift, purposeful steps. Her heels clicked against the linoleum like a countdown. Nurses at the station straightened when they saw her approaching. One picked up a phone. Diane was still standing guard at Dad's door. Room 347. She saw us coming. Her face went white, then red, then purple. Mrs. Chen, Patricia said, her voice carrying down the entire corridor, ensuring every nurse, every visitor, every patient who could hear understood exactly what was happening. This man holds medical power of attorney for David Chen. He has full legal access to the patient and full authority over all medical decisions regarding his care. That's impossible, Diane stammered, her perfect composure cracking. I'm his wife. I'm his next of kin. This is absurd. And he, Patricia gestured to me, is the legal healthcare decision maker as designated by the patient himself in a notarized document filed with this hospital 6 months ago. Mr. Chen has every right to be here. In fact, he has more authority than you do regarding medical decisions. I watched the realization hit Diane, watched her understand that she'd overplayed her hand. You can't do this, she said, but her voice wavered. I'm family. I'm his wife. I've been here the whole time. Mrs. Chen, Patricia's voice could have cut glass. You just had the legal healthcare proxy forcibly removed from this facility by providing false information to security. If you'd like to contest the power of attorney, you're welcome welcome to pursue legal channels. But as of this moment, Mr. Marcus Chen has full access to his father and full decision-making authority regarding his medical care. Patricia stepped aside, gesturing to the door. Mr. Chen, your father is waiting. I started to move past Diane. She grabbed my arm, her red nails digging in hard enough to hurt. You can't do this to me, she hissed, her voice low and venomous. I've been taking care of him. I've been here. You abandoned him 2 years ago for your precious career in Portland. I stopped, looked at her directly, let the moment stretch. Around us, nurses had stopped working. Security, different guards, not the ones who'd escorted me out, had appeared at the end of the hallway. Patricia stood with her arms crossed, watching everything with the detached interest of someone documenting evidence. Actually, Diane, I said quietly, you can leave now. Her eyes widened. Excuse me? I pulled my arm free from her grip, looked her directly in the eyes. Family only. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again like a fish drowning in air. You wouldn't dare. Patricia, I said, not taking my eyes off Diane. Can you clarify hospital policy on visitors when the medical power of attorney holder requests restricted access? The healthcare proxy can restrict visitors as they see fit in the best interest of the patient, Patricia said smoothly, like she'd given this speech 100 times, including spouses. The proxy's authority is absolute in medical decision-making and patient welfare matters. Diane's face went through several shades of red. David would never want this. David gave me this authority 6 months ago, I said. He signed the papers, had them notarized, filed them with the hospital. He knew exactly what he was doing. I turned to Patricia. I'd like privacy with my father, please. No visitors except medical staff until I say otherwise. Of course, Mr. Chen. Patricia pulled out her phone, typed something. I'm noting that in his file now. Security restriction placed at the request of the healthcare proxy. Mrs. Chen, you'll need to leave the ICU immediately. This is insane. Diane's voice rose to a near shriek. Several patients' monitors started beeping faster. Her outburst was literally affecting people's heart rates. I'm his wife. We've been married for 8 years, and he's held medical power of attorney for 6 months, Patricia said calmly, professionally, with the air of someone who'd just won a legal argument. The patient made his wishes clear when he designated Mr. Chen as his healthcare proxy. Security? The 2 guards approached, different faces than before, but same navy uniforms, same professional demeanor. Please escort Mrs. Chen from the ICU, Patricia said. She's to have no access to room 347 or patient David Chen until the healthcare proxy authorizes it. If she returns without authorization, she's to be removed from the hospital entirely and banned from the premises. You'll regret this, Diane spat at me as the guards approached. Her perfect mask had completely shattered. When he wakes up, if he wakes up, you'll pay for this. I'll make sure everyone knows what you did. Your Uncle Tom, your Aunt Linda, everyone at his church, everyone he works with, they'll all know you kept his wife away from him while he was dying. If he wakes up, I said quietly, I'll ask him what he wants. Until then, I'm making the decisions he trusted me to make, the ones he put in writing, the ones he specifically gave to me instead of you. The guards took her arms, professionally, not roughly, but firmly enough that resistance was pointless. She looked at me one more time, her face twisted with rage and something else, fear maybe, the realization that she'd just lost control of a narrative she'd been building for 8 years. They walked her down the hallway. She protested the entire way, voice echoing off the walls, accusations flying, threats of lawyers and lawsuits, and making me pay for this betrayal. The elevator doors closed on her rage. Silence settled over the ICU like snow. Patricia touched my shoulder briefly. I'm sorry that was necessary, Mr. Chen. Dr. Sarah Winters is your father's cardiologist. She's excellent, 20 years of cardiac care experience. She'll be making rounds in about an hour. I'll let her know you're here and that you're the decision maker. Thank you. And Mr. Chen? Patricia's voice dropped lower. I'm also noting this incident in our security records. If Mrs. Chen attempts to interfere with your access again, provides false information to staff, or makes any more scenes, she'll be permanently banned from this hospital. We take patient welfare seriously, and that includes protecting healthcare proxies from harassment. She walked away, leaving me standing at the door to room 347. I pushed it open. Dad looked worse up close. So much worse. The machines I'd glimpsed from the hallway were even more invasive than I'd realized. Tubes down his throat, IV lines in both arms, electrodes across his bare chest monitoring every heartbeat, a ventilator breathing for him with mechanical precision. Hiss, click, hiss, click. His face was gray, sunken. The strong man who'd taught me to ride a bike, who'd sat through every soccer game, even in the rain, who'd helped me move to Portland 2 years ago, despite Diane's complaints about being abandoned. That man looked small in the hospital bed, mortal, fragile, breakable. I pulled the visitor chair close to the bed, took his hand. It was cool, papery, so much frailer than I remembered. Hey, Dad, I said quietly. It's Marcus. I'm here. The machines beeped their steady rhythm. The ventilator hissed. Sorry it took me 8 hours. Traffic was terrible through Boise. You know how the construction gets near the state line. Nothing. No response. But I hadn't expected one. I sat there holding his hand, watching the monitors, trying to decode what the numbers meant. Heart rate, 58. Blood pressure, 110 to 65. Oxygen saturation, 95%. 95%. Were those good? Bad? I had no idea. A nurse came in. Young woman, probably mid-20s with kind eyes and purple scrubs featuring cartoon stethoscopes. You must be Marcus, she said softly. I'm Alicia Rodriguez. I'm the one who called you this morning. Thank you for that, I said, for calling me. Your father had your number listed as primary emergency contact. She checked Dad's IV bags, made notes on a tablet. I know there was some confusion earlier with Mrs. Chen. Yeah, I said. You could call it that. For what it's worth, Alicia said quietly, adjusting Dad's blanket with practiced care. Your father talked about you a lot before the heart attack happened. Showed me pictures on his phone of Portland, the mountains, your apartment. Said you were doing really well. He was so proud. My throat tightened. He was? Very. She smiled sadly. He said you were the smartest thing he ever did, that you got your mother's brains and his stubbornness, which made you unstoppable. I couldn't speak, just nodded. Dr. Winters will be here soon, Alicia said. She'll explain everything. His condition, the treatment plan, what to expect. It's serious, Marcus. I won't lie to you, but he's stable. That's something. She left me alone with Dad and the machines and the weight of decisions I might have to make. Dr. Sarah Winters arrived about an hour later. Tall woman, early 40s, dark hair streaked with gray, pulled back in a practical ponytail, white coat over scrubs, stethoscope around her neck, the posture of someone who'd spent 20 years studying to save lives and took that responsibility seriously. Mr. Chen, I'm Dr. Winters, cardiac intensive care. She shook my hand firmly, professional, warm, but not overly familiar. I understand you're David's healthcare proxy. Yes, he designated me about 6 months ago. Good. Then we can talk frankly without worrying about HIPAA restrictions. She pulled up Dad's chart on the room computer. Your father suffered a massive myocardial infarction, a heart attack, at approximately 5:30 this morning. His wife called 911 immediately. Paramedics arrived within 7 minutes. That quick response probably saved his life. I nodded, absorbing information. He had a complete blockage of the left anterior descending artery. We call it the widowmaker in cardiology because it's frequently fatal. We performed an emergency cardiac catheterization and placed 2 stents to open the blockage, but there was significant damage to the left ventricle before we could restore blood flow. What does that mean? I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. It means his heart isn't pumping as efficiently as it should. We're using medications to support his blood pressure and heart function. He's on a ventilator because we want to reduce the workload on his heart while it tries to heal. Is he going to make it? Dr. Winters met my eyes, direct, honest. The next 48 hours are critical. If he remains stable, no additional cardiac events, no complications, his chances improve significantly. But I need to be honest with you, Marcus. The damage was extensive. Even if he survives, he'll need cardiac rehabilitation, significant lifestyle changes, possibly more procedures down the line. But he could survive? Yes, he could survive. He's strong for 63. He's fighting. The monitors show his heart is responding to the medications. I exhaled for what felt like the first time in hours. Now, Dr. Winters said, her voice gentler, I need to ask you some questions about his wishes regarding end-of-life care. It's standard for ICU patients in critical condition. My stomach dropped through the floor. He has an advance directive on file, I said quickly. It should be with his medical power of attorney paperwork. She pulled it up, read through it, scrolled. Yes, he's very clear about his wishes. No extraordinary measures if there's no reasonable chance of meaningful recovery. No prolonged life support if brain function is compromised. But we're not there yet, Marcus. Right now, everything we're doing is standard post-heart attack care with good odds of recovery. I just need you to understand the possibilities if things deteriorate. I understand. Do you have questions? I had 1,000 questions. I asked the most important one. Can he hear me? Maybe. Probably not consciously with the sedation we have him on. But some research suggests patients retain some awareness even under sedation. It doesn't hurt to talk to him. Some patients report remembering voices, feeling presences. We don't fully understand it. After she left, I talked to Dad, told him about Portland, about the project I was leading at work, environmental monitoring systems for watershed management, about the apartment I'd rented with a view of Mount Hood, about the hiking trails I'd discovered, the coffee shops that served beans from local roasters, the food cart pods where you could get Thai and Mexican and Ethiopian all in the same block, all the things I'd told him on our Sunday phone calls, all the things Diane said meant I'd abandoned him. Somewhere around midnight, Diane tried to come back. I was dozing in the uncomfortable visitor chair, neck at an angle that would leave me sore for days. The sound of raised voices in the hallway woke me. Don't care what he said, I'm going in there. Ma'am, you're not authorized. I'm his wife. I stood up, walked to the door, opened it. Diane stood at the nurse's station, flanked by Dad's brother Tom and Tom's wife Linda. She was still in the same clothes from earlier, makeup smeared, hair disheveled. Tom looked uncomfortable. Linda looked furious. Security was already there, a different guard this time, a woman in her 40s with sergeant stripes on her uniform. Marcus, Tom said when he saw me. What the hell is going on? Diane says you've banned her from seeing David. I haven't banned her, I said carefully, my voice still rough with sleep. I've restricted visitors to immediate family while Dad's critical. Doctor's orders. Too much stress isn't good for him. She's his wife. wife, Linda said sharply. That's immediate family. And I'm his son and his healthcare proxy, I replied. He gave me this authority 6 months ago for situations exactly like this. He wanted someone making rational decisions based on medical advice, not emotional reactions. Tom shifted uncomfortably. He was Dad's younger brother, 59, an accountant who'd always been the peacekeeper in family disputes. This seems extreme, Marcus. Diane's been taking care of David. She's worried sick. She had me forcibly removed by security this afternoon, I said flatly. Told them I wasn't family, said Dad didn't want to see me, lied to hospital staff and had his son, his healthcare proxy, thrown out of the building while he was dying. Linda's mouth opened, closed. Is that true, Diane? Tom asked. Diane's face flushed. It was a misunderstanding. I was emotional. David's heart attack was traumatic. I wasn't thinking clearly. You told security I was harassing you, I said. You smiled when they dragged me to the elevator. That's not a misunderstanding. That's deliberate. Tom rubbed his face. Jesus, Diane. I panicked. Diane's voice rose, cracking. He just showed up out of nowhere after barely visiting for 2 years. I talked to Dad every Sunday, I interrupted. For 2 hours, every week. I invited you both to Portland 12 times. You always said no. Can we at least see him? Linda asked, her voice softer now. Tom's his brother. He has a right. I considered it. Weighed Dad's needs against family politics. 5 minutes, I said. One at a time. And if anyone causes stress or upsets him, you're out. Tom went in first. Came out 5 minutes later, wiping his eyes. He looks bad, Marcus. Really bad. I know. Linda went in next. Came out pale and silent, clutching Tom's arm. Diane tried to go in. I blocked the doorway. Not tonight, I said. You can't do this. Yes, I said, exhausted beyond caring about politeness. I can. That's literally what medical power of attorney means. I make the decisions. Dad trusted me with that responsibility 6 months ago. If you don't like it, you can hire a lawyer and contest it in court. But right now, tonight, I'm the one who decides who gets access to my father's ICU room. She opened her mouth to argue. Tom took her arm. Come on, Diane. Let's go home. Let Marcus do what David asked him to do. They left. Diane looked back once, her face twisted with rage and something else. Fear. She was afraid of losing control of the narrative she'd spent 8 years building. The next 2 days were the longest of my life. I barely left the ICU, slept in the chair when exhaustion forced me to. Alicia and the other nurses brought me coffee, crackers, cafeteria sandwiches that tasted like cardboard, but kept me functioning. I dozed in 20-minute intervals, jerking awake every time a monitor beeped differently. Dr. Winters made rounds twice a day, updated me on Dad's condition in careful medical terminology I only half understood but tried to absorb. Stable, responding to medications, heart function improving, no additional damage, small victories measured in percentages and blood oxygen levels. Diane tried to visit again the next morning. I was half asleep when Alicia came to get me. Your stepmother is in the waiting room with more family members. They're asking to see your father. I splashed water on my face from the room's small sink, ran fingers through my hair, tried to look more awake than I felt. The ICU waiting room was crowded. Diane sat with Dad's church group, Pastor Michael, the Hendersons, the Yamadas, all people who'd known Dad for years. They looked at me with a mixture of pity and judgment. Marcus, Pastor Michael stood up. 60-something, gray beard, kind eyes that had presided over Mom's funeral 20 years ago. We heard about David. We wanted to see him, pray with him. He's stable, I said, heavily sedated. He can't really interact right now. Then we'll pray quietly, Mrs. Henderson said. Just sit with him. Let him know he's loved. I looked at their faces. These were good people. People who'd brought casseroles when Mom died, who'd helped Dad through grief, who'd welcomed Diane into the community. 5 minutes, I said. 2 people at a time. Quiet prayer only. No touching except hand-holding. The nurses will monitor. They filtered in over the next hour. Pastor Michael went first with Mr. Yamada. They prayed quietly, held Dad's hands, left tearful. The Hendersons went next, then others. Diane waited until last. Please, she said when everyone else had gone. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. I studied her face. She looked exhausted. Genuine grief showed through the anger. 5 minutes, I said. Alicia will be in the room the entire time. She nodded, went in. I watched through the window. She sat by his bed, took his hand, cried. Real tears, not performance. Leaned down and whispered something I couldn't hear. When she came out, her makeup was completely destroyed. Thank you, she said quietly. He's your husband, I said. I'm not trying to keep you away forever. I'm just trying to protect him while he can't protect himself. I know, she whispered. I'm sorry for everything yesterday. I was scared. I thought, her voice broke. I thought if I lost him, I'd be alone, and you'd swoop in and I'd be the villain. You made yourself the villain, I said, not unkindly. But you can unmake it. Starting now, she nodded, left quietly. Dad woke up 2 days after the heart attack. Dr. Winters had reduced his sedation that morning. Said his vitals were stable enough to try bringing him back to consciousness. His eyes opened slowly around 2 in the afternoon. Confused, unfocused. The breathing tube prevented him from talking. Dad, I leaned forward, taking his hand. It's Marcus. You're in the hospital. You had a heart attack, but you're okay. You're going to be okay. His eyes found mine, squeezed my hand weakly. Dr. Winters came in immediately. She'd been monitoring from the nurse's station, did a neurological assessment with brisk efficiency. David, can you squeeze my hand? Good. Can you wiggle your toes? Excellent. Do you know where you are? Dad nodded slightly, the movement constrained by the tubes. You had a heart attack, Dr. Winters explained clearly. We placed stents in your heart. You're doing well. We're going to remove the breathing tube this afternoon if you continue to improve. Do you understand? Another nod. Do you know who this is? She gestured to me. Dad's eyes found mine again, squeezed my hand harder. Your son has been here the entire time, Dr. Winters said. He holds your medical power of attorney. He's been making all your healthcare decisions. You chose very well. Something that might have been a smile tried to form around the breathing tube. They removed the breathing tube later that afternoon. Dad's first words, voice raspy and weak. Marcus, you came. Of course I came, I said, my own voice breaking. Did you think I wouldn't? 8 hours, he whispered. Worth every mile. Diane, he said, struggling to get the word out. She tried to. We've worked it out, I said, not quite truthfully, but not wanting to stress him. She's worried. Everyone is. He managed a weak smile. Bet she's pissed you have power of attorney. I laughed, despite everything. You could say that. Good. His eyes closed. Tired. Sleep, Dad. I'll be here when you wake up. Thank you, he whispered. For coming, for staying, for being, he coughed, winced, for being exactly who I needed. Dr. Winters kept Dad in ICU for 3 more days, then moved him to the cardiac step-down unit. I called my boss in Portland, explained the situation, asked for emergency leave. Take all the time you need, Sarah at HR said immediately. Family first. We'll figure out the work. Diane and I developed an uneasy truce. She visited in the mornings. I visited in the afternoons and evenings. We overlapped sometimes, kept conversations minimal, and focused on Dad. A week after the heart attack, when Dad was awake and lucid and starting physical therapy, Diane caught me in the hallway. I owe you a real apology, she said. Not just for the hospital, for the last 2 years. I made it hard for you to be part of this family. I felt threatened by you, by your relationship with David. That was wrong. Yeah, I said. It was. I don't expect us to be friends, she continued. But maybe we can be civil for David? I can do civil, I said. She nodded. And Marcus, thank you for making the medical decisions. I would have panicked. David was right to trust you. It wasn't friendship. It wasn't even really forgiveness, but it was something.